Hello, good morning, good afternoon. Good to see you all. Today is Wednesday, May 13th. We are starting with apartheid, and I just wanted to quickly show you again our calendar so that you kind of know what's going on. You have 13th and 14th, Wednesday and Thursday, apartheid day 1 and 2, and then our very short 7-question exam on Friday the 15th. Okay? If you have not yet gotten in your projects from the spring break virtual field trips, please get those in. Those are project grades, and they will go into the summative assessment, right? The 60% category of your grades, right? Thank you. Let's get started. So we're going to identify and explain the meaning of apartheid and the impact on South Africa. South Africa is just super complicated. Right, there was many different ethnic groups there before the Europeans got there. When the Europeans got there, it was first the Dutch, who become called Afrikaners or Boers, and then there's a couple wars between Boers and Zulu, Zulu and British, British and Boers, and then the British eventually take over everything. That's where we're going to basically start. Okay, from British colonialism, like 1900. Okay. So first, let's just look at this little throwback to imperialism, right? Describe the cartoon as we see it. I see Africa is kind of dug out, and all its stuff, its natural resources, its gold, its diamonds, its copper, its tin, its iron, its oil eventually. Rubber is all taken out and brought to other places like North America and Europe. All right, so South Africa, it is a country in southern Africa. Right here, highlighted in red. So it gets independence from Great Britain in 1910. However, freedom is very loose in this case. It becomes an independent country, not a colony, but freedom is not really in a word that we would associate with South Africa as a country for quite some time. So the British left a small group, mainly this Dutch. The Dutch have been there probably for about 400 years already. So like these old descendants from these people were called Afrikaners, and they were left in charge. So they were about like 10% of the population, 10 or so, 10 to 20%, somewhere in there. It changes depending on who took the census. So they are the white minority in control of all of South Africa. And what they do is they instill this laws of segregating whites from black people in South Africa. And it was more than just like what we saw in the American South with schools and buses and drinking fountains and things like that. It was entire towns, entire settlements where like the main inner city was for white people only, and then the outskirts, we were called shanty towns, were for only the African population. This specifically was called apartheid. That means apartness in this Afrikaner language, which was a mixture of Dutch, English, and the Zulu Bantu language. So there is also a massacre that we see, kind of similar to what we saw in Amritsar in India. Many people were trying to protest and come together to non-violently protest against the apartheid movement. So we have Black Africans protesting against against apartheid, but the police meet them with extreme violence and massacre hundreds of them. Nelson Mandela was one of these anti-apartheid leaders. He was very initially more non-violent, but then realized at some point in his 27 years in prison for his nonviolent protest that maybe they would have to get outside help or other help. It's more than just nonviolent. And we do see that the rest of the world kind of gets involved with banning South African goods and boycotting South African goods. So finally, civil disobedience kind of brings down this. We see lots of protesting, marching, striking, boycotting, and not just boycotting within South Africa, but like the United States stopped buying South African goods. Europe stopped buying South African goods. So it really started to cripple the whole country's economy, and that was the final thing that brought down apartheid. Right, we did kind of mention this. International intervention became a thing where organizations would start to show support for the Black people in South Africa. So they would boycott buying or importing South African goods, or if they had a company there, they would divest. They would move their money out. There is besides Mandela, there are two other people we should know. Desmond Tutu. He is a priest who is petitioning the government to get Mandela released. He is released in 1990. And then also the president of that released Mandela is called F.W. de Klerk, who also agrees to hold the first election where everybody is allowed to vote, not just the Afrikaner 10% people, but all white, black, everybody. So we have finally Nelson Mandela is elected the president of South Africa. And his whole platform is that there's going to be no punishing for apartheid, even though it's been years, 90 years of legal segregation. But also that he thought that South Africa wouldn't be able to move forward without reconciliation and forgiveness of healing old wounds. Since he passed, I believe in 2011, South Africa has kind of moved away a little bit from reconciliation and have started to, I guess, confiscate white-owned businesses and return that to people that they felt all deserved it instead. Okay, so let's look at our work for the next 2 days. All right, our work for Wednesday, 5/13. What is apartheid? Who is Nelson Mandela? And what was his point of view concerning apartheid? So we're going to look at that today, and then 5/14 Thursday's work as well. Okay, so I'll help you through the introduction. We're going to examine the images below, then complete the See, Think, Wonder activity. So what do I see? I see a sign that says for use for whites only, and I see another sign that says caution, beware of natives. So what do I see? I see two signs that are supporting or forcing the divide of the races in South Africa. What do I think? Basically, what might apartheid be? Apartheid is segregation or separating people based on their race or their ethnicity. Okay, that's number 2. And wonder. I wonder why the majority Black African population was controlled so much by the minority. I wonder how non-violence was able to overcome this institutionalized racism and segregation. Okay, you guys can choose whatever you want. Obviously, make it your own. Okay, and the second one is 2 pie charts, right? Population by racial groups. So we have the Black, the Zulu is the largest group. They are 72% of the population. The other part is 3% Asian, about 9% mixed race, and 16% white. Whereas the second pie chart is showing that how much money this group has. So all of the Black African people in South Africa have only 32% of the wealth. So while they are 72% of the population, they only have 32% of the money. The white Afrikaner, British or Boer population is 16%, but they have more than 57% of the money. That's a very big difference. So after you complete that last introduction, there is a short 2-minute video on Nelson Mandela and 3 questions to answer for today. Okay, that is all. Then moving on to Thursday, 5/14, right, focusing now on what was Mandela's point of view concerning apartheid and how to put an end to it. Your directions are to read 2 excerpts, excerpt 1 and excerpt 2, and answer the questions. Okay, so we have this excerpt from Mandela's speech, two questions. Describe the difference in living conditions for white South Africans and black South Africans. And then what was the cause of this difference between the living conditions, according to Mandela. And then the second excerpt, which is, in this case it says excerpt 3, but I deleted one. You're welcome. Again, you have a second part of the speech and 2 questions. 2 desires for the black South Africans, and identify 2 pieces of evidence. Okay? And that's it. So 2 readings and 4 questions total for Thursday, the 14th. Last reminder, you have your exam, 7 questions, multiple choice, Google form on Friday. And then we will start our new units May 18th. It'll be on globalization, 3 lessons, and 1 hopefully fun project. I think it's fun. I think you guys will enjoy it. All right. I will talk to you later. I will be on a Google Meet throughout the day during your class periods if you need anything, or you can always comment on the assignment or reach me through email. All right. If I don't see you, have a good weekend. Stay safe and healthy. Okay. Bye-bye.